Hello, guys. So, welcome to the very first episode of Go Well With Sharon Season 5. And as we said, we are going to do a road trip through the awesome Eastern Cape, the Adventure Province. And today we're in Nelson Mandela Bay, right here in good old Albert Road, number 62 at the Nova Boutique Hotel. And I'm about to go in and show you what this awesome place looks like. Right, guys, so I've just checked into this amazing, beautiful boutique hotel, and I'm sitting here with Kevin Fourie, the co-owner of Nova Boutique Hotel. Kevin, thank you so much for joining me.
I'm glad you didn't say owner, because I'm definitely very much the co-owner of the hotel, because my wife has played an integral part in the place, yes.
Fantastic. So just tell me, you've got this amazing, beautiful space here. What was the inspiration and how did this happen? How did Nova Boutique Hotel happen?
Okay, so there's a long answer, but I'll give you the short one. I was practicing law with my wife in separate practices, but in the same building. And I started losing my hearing quite fast, which became an embarrassment and became impossible for me to function properly, because you've got to be sharp when it comes to the law. You've got to hear everything. Mm-hmm. And so I started withdrawing myself from the practice and left my wife with the burden of running two practices at once. It worked very well, and turned out that she ended up making more money than I was making with her. And left me with a lot of time in my hands and some money, which obviously we'd also been saving for our old age. And I said to my wife, maybe we should use some of our savings to build on at the back of one of the properties that we own. And she said, okay, I don't have a problem with that, just keep it small. And that's what happened. It morphed into this after working through three architects. I decided that if I'm going to do something, I must do it like I worked my practice as well as I could. And I wanted something that would work for me if I was the guest. So I looked at everything from the guest's point of view, not from what would work for staff or for anybody else. And I had a few fights with the architects over that. I said, the guest is sacrosanct. They're the most important thing. And we have Nova Boutique Hotel.
Fantastic. Now the word Nova, what does that mean? And does that have something to do with this amazing, beautiful building style and the look and the feel of the hotel?
Okay. For 5 years, this hotel was Lord's Boutique Hotel. That was the working name. And once it was all done, my wife looked at the place and she said, you know what? This is not the old English style that you had in mind originally when you said Lord's Boutique Hotel. And she came up with Nova Boutique Hotel. And Nova means new bright shining star. And we took that name to our amazing designer, Carista Boatwright of 9 Yard Design. And she came to us with a storyboard of what she wants to do. And I said, just do it. Just do it. Whatever you got to do, just do it. I loved her. I loved her from the start. And she just astounded me and gave me more than I expected in every respect. There were a few things we stuck on that I insisted, and we got through those difficulties. And of course, there's always going to be some, if you're both fighting hard for what you want. But yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I must say, your place is stunning. It's beautiful. I love the building style. I love the decor. Everything is just gorgeous. But I want to talk about the rooms. So tell me about the rooms that you have here. Everything from your smallest to your biggest to the family rooms. If you can just tell our viewers all about that.
Okay. Well, I think it starts with the kind of person that I am. I don't like to be closed in. I get claustrophobic. I like my space. And the first architect came to me with these drawings of hotels, and I had 25. I think that the largest room he gave me was 30 square meters. And I said to him, but we've got the space. Let's make the rooms bigger. He said, it's a waste of space. You know, you can do so much more with it. And I said to him, get off my property before your stupidity rubs off on me. And, you know, he kind of felt that I was being extravagant. And by the time my third architect came around, she got me. And she gave me the floor plan that I've got now. And even threw in a pamper room, which I wasn't expecting. And I loved it. So we sacrificed a lot of common area, which I felt would not be properly used for the rooms, because my guests are the most important thing. My one word when I was designing was guest. So we thought about all the people we could accommodate. We wanted a honeymoon suite, which we got. Amazing 55 square meters of honeymoon suite with the largest bathroom you've ever seen. Some of my guests say you can have a party there. We've even got a 3-seater couch in the bathroom. And I wanted everything of the best. Extra length king size beds, not just double beds. And I wanted the best linen that we could find. We felt all the linens, and we came up with 300 thread count Egyptian cotton linen, which was the right linen for comfort and durability. All my cupboards are illuminating when you open them. That was one of the things we had to fight with, the sliding doors with soft closing, undercount fridges, hot and cold running water at the coffee station. Don't want to go to the bathroom to get your jug of water to make your coffee. State-of-the-art coffee machines. Then we have a presidential suite, or 2 presidential suites, which are 90 square meters in size.
Wow.
Bigger than many modern townhouses.
Absolutely.
It's got a separate private entrance, VIP parking, and something I must say that one of the things that sets the hotel apart from most hotels in Port Elizabeth is that we have a no-touch system. In other words, we have a key card system which is sanitized and left in your room, and you can actually book in remotely from anywhere in the world, and when you arrive you can use your phone to check in at the gate and check in at your door without going through the whole procedure of standing in the foyer and waiting to be checked in.
That is fantastic. I really love that. And you guys can accommodate families here on site as well?
We've got 2 family suites which are 2-bedroom suites, and each room has got its own ensuite bathroom, and the kitchen is self-contained. Something I want to mention also is that our TVs are all extra sized flat screen TVs with little smart TVs, so you can come in with your Netflix account and you don't have to miss out on your series.
Fantastic.
And also something I must tell you, I get excited and just stop me when I get carried away.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Something that my guests love about the hotel is that we don't allow functions in the hotel. We've had people say, can I have 25 people come and have dinner here? Or a few men have asked, can they come and drink at the bar because they like the serene, quiet bar? And we say, sorry, only if you come in with a guest. And if a guest brings their friends in, we don't charge them for coffee.
Oh, fantastic.
We'll charge them for drinks, obviously.
Yes.
But the coffee is on us because we regard the friends of our guests as being important because our guest is important. And
I love that.
They love that, the guests,
Yes.
because it makes them feel important. I brought you here, and because I'm the guest, you get your coffee for free.
Fantastic.
And
Fantastic.
it works. The percentage of return guests or referred guests is phenomenally high. But I don't have a standard to compare it to.
Yes.
Because remember, when we started here, we knew nothing about the hotel trade.
Amazing.
So, and I said, what's good about this and how can it serve me?
Absolutely.
Because we came in with no bad habits.
But that is a good thing.
Yeah.
Because what you have done really is centered everything, your service delivery, your design, and your offering completely around your guests, which is fantastic and why it works.
Yeah. We said to guests, what time do you want breakfast? And they say, well, what time is breakfast served? I said, you didn't understand the question. What time do you want breakfast?
Fantastic.
And they say, and check out? So when you leave. You've paid a lot of money to come and sleep in my hotel, and I'm humbled by that. I'm not going to kick you out.
Fantastic.
If you leave at 2 o'clock, so be it.
But now I've got another question for you. Just down the hall here, there's a thing called a pamper room, and I also want to talk about your beautiful spa that you have on site. Can you just tell me a little bit more about that?
Okay. The pamper room was given to me by my architect, the last architect, which I was blown away by. I wasn't expecting that.
Yes.
We've now finished, and I say that now a month ago, we finished the most beautiful boutique spa that I have ever seen. It's got a steam room, it's got 2 massage rooms, 2 pedicure stations, 2 manicure stations, a beautiful little reception area that opens up onto a heated pool, and you look across the heated pool onto a beautiful bar. It's a snack bar,
Yes.
but it's almost Bali style, with an amazing below deck around the pool.
Fantastic.
And we haven't had our first conference we finished the conference for the cameras today.
Oh, fantastic. Well, we are so honored. We're so honored.
And it's got all the state-of-the-art equipment in it. It's an amazing space it's an executive conference venue for 20 people with a spillover onto a deck with a bra area. It's going to be very exciting to see that working.
Absolutely amazing. And we wish you many happy conferences there. And you know what, just from my point of view, as we mentioned before, earlier when I checked in, that I've been to many spaces and many places, but this is really something special. You have got a winning formula going here. Love the decor, love what you stand for, which is making your guests feel comfortable and making sure that your guests have an absolutely amazing experience. And let me tell you guys, this is something really special. You need to come and see this place, Nova Boutique Hotel. Kevin Fourie, thank you so much. Your hospitality is amazing, your space is amazing, and I wish you many, many guests. Welcome back after the break, folks, and we are at the South End Museum, and today we are going to go with Umzansi Tours and Lynn here on my left hand side on a city, shore and wildlife tour. Lynn, welcome to the show and thank you so much for spending time with me today.
Thank you. Yes.
Now, you mentioned your business is called Umzansi Tours. What does Umzansi mean, and where all are we going today, and what does today entail?
Okay, Umzansi is south or southern. It's actually Umzansi Africa Tours, so it's South or Southern Africa Tours in Xhosa. Okay, and today we're going to, from here, we're overlooking the harbour, Port Elizabeth Harbour, and I'm going to talk about the exports of our city, as well as the forced removals here from South End. And then from there we're going into the city to hear about the history of our city. From there, drive around the Marine Drive, beautiful coastline, and then on to the Krokokoma Game Reserve.
Right, so we've got the harbour right behind us now, Lynn. What can you tell us about the harbour? Over to you.
Yes, Sharon, Port Elizabeth is predominantly a motor industry town due to our manufacturing plants. So we've got Volkswagen, we've got the Ford engine plant, we've got Isuzu, and we've got the Chinese manufacturing plants. So the economy of Port Elizabeth relies greatly on the motor industry. So if anything goes wrong with motor industry, it has a big effect on our economy here in Port Elizabeth. So, of course, our exports are motor vehicles. So every second day or so, you'll see a huge, on the main quay, Charmalong Quay, you'll see a car carrier ship. It's a huge ship that comes in, and those ships take anything between 8,000 and 13,000 cars, stacked right down underwater level. They say it looks like a Tokyo highway during peak traffic. You know, it's just high enough for a human to walk in and get into the car. That's how they're packed, and those cars get exported all over the world. Our main export commodity here is our manganese ore. If I can just turn and point for you. Over there, just above those trees there is our ore dumps, our manganese ore dumps. That ore comes from Northern Cape by rail, and it gets loaded into the ships, into the hulls, and then that gets shipped all over the world, and that's for the manufacture of steel. We also export wool, our merino wool, and that the first merino sheep was brought out here from Spain in 1789 from Spain. And so we export wool and also mohair, of which we are the best in the world, from our Karoo. The Angora goat came out in 1856 from Asia, and we also export mohair. Of course, with the motor industry, we also export the components, the auto components and tires. We also, with our fishing, we export calamari. Calamari, they fish for 12 days in the year. They have that window, and that's why you'll see the chocker boats, as we call them, chocker boats in the city. You'll see them, they'll fish for 12 days solid. We also have oysters. We've got an oyster farm. We're not going to be able to see it today, unfortunately. Normally, if you're on the Donkin, you can see the oyster farm. And the oysters come from, we buy the oysters from Japan. They're called speck, which is the small oyster. And they grow in the Knysna Lagoon for a year. And then they bring them here to our bay, and they lay in baskets about a meter below the surface of the sea. And they grow here for 3 years, and then they're ready for export or for local use. Yeah, and we also export citrus fruits from our Sundays River Valley. So any fruit that you buy overseas that has Outspan sticker on, or Cape fruit, comes from our Sundays River Valley, of which we're very, very proud of. Yeah, we also export dairy. We export like butter, we export water, the normal bottles of bottled water, condensed milk. So there's lots of dairy products that we also export. But our main one at this stage is, of course, our manganese ore. And then I'd like to talk about the forced removals of this area. Now, before 1968, this area was a buzzing interdenominational multicultural area. Yes. And then in 1948, when the Nationalist Party took over, they immediately started working on the Group Areas Act, which was to separate the different cultural groups. They didn't want them living together. And in 1952, it was actually legislated that all cultural groups were to live separately. Yes. And from 1952 to 1968, they quietly started moving people out of, out of various areas. So any of non-white people had to move out of the white areas. So influential people like doctors and lawyers and attorneys and so on, and they had to now move out and move into into their own areas. So in 1968, when we had the floods, we had terrible floods in 1968, and of course with Port Elizabeth being on top of a hill, the water came down and rushed out into the harbour, into the bay. And this area, like all the other areas on top of the hill, but this area, a lot of the houses, their foundations and their roads were gorged out with the water. So in 1968, they used that as an excuse to start moving these people out here. And it came very suddenly. They were just told, we're moving you. They came with the trucks and they just moved people out. So they then moved all the black people were moved out to Motherwell. The coloured people were moved out to northern areas. The Chinese were moved to Morningside. Indians to Malabar. And of course the whites had to go back into the white areas. And then they just demolished everything in this area. Everything was just flattened. And And then it stayed just nothing here. All the churches, the only two buildings that they didn't flatten were the two mosques, so the green mosque there and this mosque here.
Yes.
And that was because it was taken, the Muslims took it to the United Nations, and United Nations said that they were not allowed to touch these mosques.
We are at Fort Frederick at the moment, and we have the Barkens Valley behind us. Now, Lynn, what is the story here with the Barkens Valley?
Okay, just want to point out that the Barkens River was much wider than what it is today. Today you'll just see a little canal here where these reeds are behind us, winding its way. Way back in the early days, this river was much wider, crossing over before all these buildings were here. So the certain sailing ships were able to come into the Barkens River, and they would anchor just below the fort, but not the big ships, only the small sailing ships. This was more, further in was more like a lagoon, and in its day. Now behind me here, you'll see warehouses, and you'll see some small council houses. There's only a few left, but there were a lot more, but they were all washed away in the 1968 floods that I spoke about earlier. Most of the rest of the warehouses, which were on the grass area straight down behind me, they were washed away, and a lot of the rest of the small houses, council houses, were also either damaged by the floodwaters or, were washed away. Now, this fort was the first British stone building south of the equator. So this was built in 1799. It was named after Frederick, Duke of York. The commanding officer was Sir Francis Everett. He was the commander here. And so Port Elizabeth at that stage was just a military camp. Prior to that, the people that were here were the San people, the Khoi San, and the first known European person that came into our bay, of course, was Bartholomew Dowes, who came into the bay in 1488. They were lost out at sea, and they were blown into our bay onto St. Croix Island, and they landed there absolutely destitute, and they were so pleased to find land. They basically fell onto the island, and they named the bay Baia de la Grotta, which means Bay of the Rocks. They planted a cross there, and they immediately took communion there, and they tried to land, but the San people were so terrified of them because they thought the world was flat. And all of a sudden this apparition came out of the sea, and these strange people, they were terrified of them, so they stoned them, and they wouldn't allow them to land here. Now, of course, they wanted to land to get the fresh water from the Barkens River here. Eventually they went back to their ship, because they were on rowing boats, and they went to Kwai Hook. Right, so from the fort we've had the San people, the Khoi people, We've had Bartholomew Dyers coming into the bay. We've got the Dutch farmers, the farms in this area. We've got the British military coming up and building the fort. And we've now got the Nguni people coming down from the north. They joined with Shaka Zulu in KwaZulu-Natal. The British government decided that they were going to come up with a scheme. They would offer free land to British people to come out here, and they gave the land this side of the Fish River, they would give free to these British people. Of course, the British people had no idea what they were coming out to. This arrangement was made. So in 1819, they selected, was supposed to be farm people in England, roughly 4,000. They don't know the exact amount, between 3,800 and 4,000 people. And they came out in various ships. Now, most of them were not farm people. They were so desperate to start a new life from poverty in England. They came out here. Of course, when they stopped in Cape Town and they saw how uncivilized Cape Town was, they realized that they'd been hoodwinked with this whole setup. And there was no ways that they could ever go back because they never had the means to go back. And of course, when they came into the bay here in Port Elizabeth, it was even more devastating because there was nothing here but a fort. A fort and this pyramid standing behind me here. That's all that was here. They landed on the beach and they were housed in tents, some of them up to 3 months before they were taken out by ox wagon by the Dutch farmers that were here, who, when they deposited those people on their allotments out in the Albany district, which is out near Grahamstown, Port Alfred Way, some of those hardened Dutch farmers cried when they left those British settlers in the middle of the bush with nothing but their belongings. Now, during that time, Lord Charles Somerset, he arranged this whole thing, but he politely took leave during the time when the 1820 settlers were due to land here. And at that time of the landing of these settlers, Sir Ruthven Donkin, who was Lieutenant General of the British Army, he was situated in India with his wife and his sister-in-law. He had a baby. The baby was 7 months old, and his wife died of malaria. He was so grief-stricken, and he was on his way back to England. He had stopped in Cape Town, and Lord Charles Somerset commanded him to come back to Port Elizabeth to oversee the landing of the 1820 settlers. And of course, being in the military, when you were given a command, you had to obey. There was no ifs or buts or whatever. So he sent his sister-in-law on to England with the baby, and he came here to Port Elizabeth, which I think was just as well for the settlers because he was a very kind, gentle man. So Ruthven Donkin must have been a man with a vision. He obviously had a vision. He came here and he stood on this hill and he looked at the bay and he realized that one day this was going to be a city. This was going to be a port. He took a pick and he placed the pick into the ground here and he said, I want a pyramid built here in memory of my wife, Elizabeth. I want this port and this city that's going to be built here, I want it to be named after Elizabeth. I name it Port Elizabeth. People think it's named after Queen Elizabeth. It's not named after Queen Elizabeth. It's named after Elizabeth Donkin, Sir Ruthven Donkin's wife, who he loved so dearly.
So Lynn, we're standing here at this horse memorial, this beautiful statue here behind us. Now, I've always wondered, what is this memorial all about? I have an inkling of an idea that it's got to do with the horses that served in the war, but what is the story behind this actually?
Okay, there is a story. I know when all four, if the horse has all four hooves on the ground, like this one here, that means the horse survived. Then you get the horse that has the four legs up. and then you get the one where just the one leg is up. Now one of those, either the horse is injured, or if it's got both legs up, then it died. Not too sure which one. I can't sort of find out exactly the true story, which one is injured and which one died. But there is a story. But the 4 legs on the ground, they survived. So this one survived.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. Well, guys, so we get to the point now where we're doing the wildlife bit of the City, Shore and Wildlife Tour. And people always ask me, how many game drives can you go on? Well, the answer is, how long is a piece of string? For me, every game drive is different every time you go on it, even if it's the same reserve. And we particularly love Krochakama Game Park because it's on our doorstep and they've got something of everything. So, and you're guaranteed to see game. You're absolutely guaranteed. So we're very excited to go on the game drive. Shall we head?
Yes. Welcome to Krochakama, guys. My name is Tanya and I'll be your guide today. Just a few basic rules. We are obviously I'm gonna go off-road quite often with you guys to try and get you guys as nice and close to the animals as possible. They do roam freely, so obviously we'll have to look for them and see what we can find today. We do have 3 of the big 5, the buffalo, the rhino and the lions. Our lions are in a separate enclosure. We will not be heading in there. But with the buffalo and then the rhino, these guys obviously, like I said, they do roam freely. So when we approach them, I'll ask everybody just to speak in a lower tone of voice. Obviously they are very unpredictable and that is what makes them dangerous. Alright, but that's it. Enjoy.
Look at that.
Cool, so these are our lionesses. This is just basically their background story. They are originally from the Ukraine, so the park worked with the Lawrence Anthony organization to actually get them here. They lived in very harsh conditions. As you can see, all 3 of them were kept in cemented cages that was welded shut. So nobody could actually go in and clean after them and so on. And yeah, when we got them here, this November this year, we will have them for 3 years. And they've adapted quite well. When we first got them, they were quite skinny. Obviously not well fed on that side. And when we first got them, we fed them every second day, about between 4 to 6 kilograms of meat, just to make sure that they are eating well and they are adapting well.
Yeah.
And now they've picked up so much weight that we can feed them once a week. Yes, yeah.
So guys, we are right here next to the lion enclosure and we are looking at these beautiful lionesses. You know, just listening to the story and how these lions got rescued, it kind of gives you hope for mankind because these animals are just so gorgeous and so beautiful and they really do deserve a lot more respect than we give them. And just seeing these lionesses here, happy, healthy, well fed, it just warms your heart.
Okay, he's our dominant male. He's got mating rights with all of these females in this herd. It's quite a big group of buffalo. There are some subordinate males in this group as well. So those are all the males that's actually not strong enough yet to compete with him. So they just hang around for safety purposes. Not that they have any threats on the farm, but that's just obviously there's only so many buffaloes on this property, so they tend to hang around with each other. And This male buffalo, if they are walking and they're busy grazing, he will always be in the front. They'll walk in a V formation. He will be in the front because basically he's got the strongest gene pool, okay, so his genes must survive, so they keep him safe. If predators attack, they'll usually come from the backside and then they'll take out the lesser dominant animals first. So they'll walk in a V, he will be in front, females with calves behind him. Behind them would be the females without calves, and then right at the back would be the subordinate males, the males that's not strong enough yet.
That's absolutely amazing how, you know, they have their social structures, all these herds of animals.
It is, and with
Absolutely amazing.
buffalo, they are highly disciplined animals.
Aren't they just absolutely amazing creatures?
I love them.
And it's so sad to think that they are being murdered because there's no other word for it.
These guys, I think we have less than 10,000 of them left in South Africa. So if they don't start doing something soon, we won't have any rhinos left. These guys, luckily due to lockdown now, the poaching went down quite hectically this year because people weren't allowed to travel between provinces. So that helped a lot, yeah. Yeah, so these are our little warthogs. We don't get to see them quite often. They are quite skittish, especially if the female's got piglets with her. But yeah, they will usually, this female is probably very well experienced if she has 4 of them, usually just up to 3. And yeah, the groups like these are called sanders, so it will be your female piglet with the offsprings, and then your males, they just come and mate with the females once it's mating season, and after that they move out again.
Well, wow, guys, what a magnificent day we had with our city, shore, and wildlife tour. Magnificent, fantastic, fabulous, amazing. I definitely recommend that you guys all come and do this tour with Lynn from Umzansi Africa Tours. So guys, when we come back, we're going on the Art Route 67.